AI workshops. This is the Corey Melton from the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, and I have Dr. Angela Long from Tallahassee State College with us, and we are super excited that you are here with us this morning. At the end, we'll be sharing with you our next topics coming up, so stay tuned to make sure you stay all the way to the end. But in the meantime, Dr. Angela Long.
So good morning, everyone. We are just so happy that you are a part of this process with us. As you know, this is our second of the Future Ready Tallahassee webinar series, and Corey and I have been mapping out through this next year and a half our scheduled speakers. So we have an amazing lineup for those of you that couldn't attend the AI Innovation Summit. We're going to bring all of those amazing topics to you. But I am really excited this morning to introduce to you the consummate professional, Sean Maxwell. He is a cloud engineer with Google from Atlanta. Sean is known across the country, if not internationally, for the work that he is doing on developing solutions with AI. He focuses largely on how do we take high-level problems and bring them into the setting where we can figure out solutions for our cities, for our regions, for our companies, our institutions. He's worked with some huge municipalities, including Nashville, Memphis, Miami, and Maui, to lead smarter transit systems, as well as faster disaster recovery efforts. And he's really focused on how to become more efficient with what we're doing. So without further ado, he's not only just an amazing person, but he's a great friend. I would like to welcome and have you join me in welcoming Sean Maxwell. Good morning, Sean. And you are on mute. We love saying that you're on mute.
I hit the button.
It's okay. All right. Good morning, Sean. Welcome.
Good morning, my friends. How are you this morning? I feel like a president. I just got elected. Now I need to lower it, and this is how I got. And now I need to lower expectations. Well, I'm just a humble engineer. Let's not get too excited. What I really want to do is sort of spend a couple of minutes and first understand where you would like to go with this. I have a hypothesis on what makes a tremendous amount of sense. We can talk about, sort of the 5 major use cases for AI in at sort of that operation municipal level. We can talk about how we're seeing it in commercial accounts. If there's a specific question or area of focus, perhaps we explore it that way. Or, hey, Sean, stick me with the stick and I'll do the dance for me. And we'll just walk through a couple of practical pieces on how I use it and how I'm helping others use it. So what makes sense? You want me to just go, don't you?
John, I would just go. And if you have any questions for him throughout this, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. Someone asked if this is recorded. It is. And so we will be sure to share that out later. So Sean, take it on and I'll be looking at the Q&A for you.
Got it. So AI is sort of a broad concept. And what I focus on are what are the problems we're solving and how my users do it. So if I'm having a conversation with high school and college students, here's how you should be thinking about it, or director of a chamber of commerce or a small business, let's start there. And then let's talk about what the next steps look like. So at its most basic, the first use for AI is to supercharge the individual. So superpower. And I'm betting everyone here has used ChatGPT or Gemini for a task. I ask it a question, I get an answer. Let me go a little deeper, and I want to show you how prompt engineering helps get deeper answers, how preloading data in moves, and then some really unique things like doing really deep research. It's actually what we call it is deep research to get insights into problems across literally hundreds of data sources. So superpower, how do I make me more effective? We know how to write a document. My kids know how to use it to cheat, to create that text for a language arts component. I've had to have ethical conversations with them about that. With that said, I'm seeing things at Stanford and other universities who are saying, you know what? AI is here to stay. We have to realize that it's not cheating. It's using all the available tools. And Stanford is actually saying, our new policy is going to be, you can't punish students for using the toolkits that are available to them for any purpose, period, full stop, whichever that is. So superpower. The second one is sort of customer or constituent services, and it depends on sort of which lens are you looking at it through. Are we looking at it through it from the government side or from the commercial side? But in either case, it's, you know, it's who do we serve? We'll call them customers for both sides. And we've all seen what bad looks like. We've picked up the phone and we've called a cell phone company, or we've called our bank or our credit card company, and we've gotten the, tell me what it is you want. I need to report my credit card is stolen. Please provide the information on the back of your credit card. I don't have it. It's stolen. One moment while I transfer you to another bot that says, please provide your data on the back of your credit card. So we know what bad looks like. Good is where we can expedite those conversations. Good is where I provide an answer to it. Somebody's applying for services. I'm newly homeless. I've got a disabled child. I need quick help. And I don't have 10 hours to show up and fill out 50 different forms. Can I just say, here's who I am, here's a photo of my driver's license, here's my problem, and have the system start necking down what's available to an individual citizen with this set of problems and start the pre-qualification process quickly.
Sorry to interrupt. So we have a question from Antoine. And he wants to know, as you're talking, how do you see AI improving to use data and analytics to help with college acceptance processes and different events that may be helpful for students to attend throughout their post-grad school journey? He specifically wants to know the small market areas like Tallahassee, what you think would work. So through your conversation, as you're thinking about this, the customer service approach with students, maybe some tips for that.
Can we narrow this down, Antoine? And please come off of mute. I'd be happy to have a quick conversation with you to refine this. What I think you're asking is how can Google help? What tools are available to have somebody come in and ask a quick question? And on the college admission component, is it from the point of view of helping the newly graduating person, or is it from the point of view of how do we expedite it on an admissions desk?
So Antoine, if you want to either speak, go ahead, or if you want to type it in, we can do that too.
Of course, yeah. Thank you. Guys can hear me. Thank you. Yeah, I specifically wanted to get into how can the colleges, for instance, use different data analytics in terms of for different students that's applying, right? They may have different composite scores of the standardized testing. But I feel like those components, AI can be a asset in just using the overall student profile of a student, right? And then advising them through their post-grade school journey in terms of post-12th grade, going from undergraduate to grad school to, post-grad school, right? How can that give them different events to kind of, supplement their journey along the way in the deficiencies that maybe students that apply to the same school might not see? Does that make sense?
I think it does. I'm going to play it back.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
Not a problem. So what I think I heard is at the entry point where somebody is coming in, how can we take a look at the totality of that individual and either pre-score them or provide insights to them on what their package might look like, and accelerate the admissions officer doing the review and really align to objectives at the college level. Am I catching that correct, or do you want to reclassify that?
No, that's perfectly fine. I guess the reason why I'm asking this is because a lot of incoming students, they may not necessarily know what they want to major in, or a lot of students, they end up never using what they majored in throughout school. So I was thinking AI can be an asset to, help guide those students who may not have that figured out already, towards a career path that may be adjacent with either their liking or what they're planning to be.
I love it. So a little context. I've got two in college at University of Georgia, Athens. Don't hate on me. They got accepted and they're getting paid for to go to school. So free works. I've got one in high school. We're having these exact conversations. So what we've done, just kind of approaching it, is we try to we've done sort of a search with Google Deep Research, if I'm thinking about it, on what are schools looking for so that we can optimize against this. And the reality is when we did it, we got such a broad set that you almost needed to define, what school, what you were going to do, and then narrow focus my application to that. I'm applying here for this thing. The problem is my kids don't know what they want to be when they grow up. They have certain propensities, but those first 2 years of college are going to mold and shape them. Both of my first two shifted their direction. One started in pure biology and then getting in, it's like, no, I want to be more technical, moved to biomedical engineering. The other started in chemie and said, this is too narrow. I want to open it up, but I do like my hands, so I want to be in mechanical. There's those pivots. The one coming up is probably more on the business side, but again, she knows it's going to change. We can do the analysis of what the schools are looking for and start to focus the response. Your question is, how do we help planning and going through that? We could take what the students are doing and say, we project them that will be going down this path, but it's so stochastic, so much randomity because of what I just said, that at best you kind of get, they're going in that general direction. Where they go is variable. And I almost think it's by design. If we just look around at my peer group at Google, I would say 3/4 of the engineering team didn't start off as comp sci cloud-based engineers. Their journeys are wild. And I'm a classic example of it. I don't fit the mold of a Google engineer, and yet here I am. That's probably not the answer you were looking for, correct? Let's talk about the admission component. So if the school has a standardized rubric, this is what we're looking for. We find our students on the backside look amazing in a specific space. We can take those student profiles and train a model to look at the ingested intake data and make recommendations on the ones that are probably going to do extremely well and have big impacts. And then you get into that Malcolm Gladwell question of there's a good enough is sort of a concept. So how do you balance this absolute of what an AI does against the desire to reach deeper into the community? And so we can build models that take those into account. It'll be indicative, but the human factor isn't going away. And I'm not sure I even answered your question. I'm just laying out the realities. Antoine, thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. It opened up a lot of insight in terms of just, particularly the information that's ingested. I was looking at just different AI agents. I'm a graduate of Georgia Tech myself, so I'm very, intertwined with technology. But I was just looking at.
I bet you could have answered that for me.
Yeah, I was looking at everything you already had written down, so I was just trying to figure out how could we use these components to kind of, hash out some of those social, type of disputes that we run into with just different students and not knowing necessarily what path they want to take because they may not be exposed to all of the things that college exposes them to, like you said, that first 2 years. So thank you, Sean, for your input, and it's very insightful.
I'll show you deep research in a second, and I'll just tell you what I try to do is use it to define my point of view. I come in with a hypothesis on a target on what I'm trying, it doesn't matter what I'm trying to do. And then I start working with deep research to get the hard truth. And I find out, yeah, I'm sorry, my target where I should be going is actually over here. So then I kind of refocus, and then I may even refocus again. That's interesting, and we play that game a lot. It's really hard to go, I got this broad data set, I'm defining a target, and I know that's my target. I'm using AI to help me refine what my target should be. And that for Google, for my team, has been the most valuable, and I can talk about some classical examples of that. Antoine, is that of interest? And I'm betting you already do this.
Yeah, that's why again I say anything that you really show up right now is just super helpful. I'm literally over here taking notes. So thank you so much, Sean.
I gotcha. So that is that, you know, a mix of superpowering and being an instant expert and using those sets of capabilities to define what we think we should be looking at and what are the broad trends we see in industry, and then layering on, I want to take a different bent on it. I want to nudge it over because I don't think that's quite right. And then we play that game. So the 4 capabilities of AI as it relates to the average human, and I'm not talking about big data research where I'm, you know, chewing through the human genome, but what do normal people use? It's these 4 things. We talked about superpower. We talked about customer. Instant expert is a huge component, and it's one that we're seeing more and more with retirement of experienced individuals and the time it takes now for new to come up. The data set that they have to learn is getting bigger to be the expert. I think about what my dad had to learn to be an engineer in a plastics plant and what that looked like. That skill has expanded, and there's more information in it to be that expert. It's broader into digital management systems, the supply chain management, optimization of those components. It's not just operating the lines, if that makes sense. So how do you build instant experts? And it is ingesting the public and private tome of information that constitutes the expert, creating a model, and we'll show you how to do that. And then you ask it questions. You've all asked ChatGPT the, you know, how do I do something question? Well, can we take in your policy, your HR, the books you've learned or used to train somebody, and then create it? We were trying to do one that was analyzing power grids to find, you know, threats in a power grid that, you know, lightning strike or car or something would take out a single point of failure. Really cool, high value use case for a lot of reasons. We had to train a model to be an electrical engineer with 30 years experience to be able to teach it to do that. And it's doable, and it's doable relatively quick. The last one is agentic AI, where we're starting to use AI to do things by, with, and through us. It doesn't replace the human. It just streamlines the workflow and allows us to do more. I'm going to pause there because that's a lot of data. Any questions so far? How about if I show it? Who here is from, is it Indiana, the show me state?
So Sean, there's a question from Leah. Leah, if you do want to unmute, you can go ahead and ask him live.
Leah, I love the ask. Guys, just raise your hands and ask me. Don't please interrupt me. It's so much faster that way.
Hi there.
Hi, Leah. It's good to meet you.
Likewise. Thank you for taking my question. I didn't mean to interrupt your lecture. I don't mind waiting if you prefer to take the question later.
No, now I'm interrupt driven. The other piece, and this is my ask, if I use a term somebody doesn't know, it's not your shortcoming, it's mine. I'm doing a bad job, so please just interrupt. What does that mean? Please ask me. So what's the question? How can I be of service?
So the question is that I am in the insurance adjusting arena, representing policyholders. So it's both homeowners, it can be businesses, nonprofit organizations. And what I'm trying to learn is how to use AI technology to identify folks that have been affected by any kind of severe weather.
Okay, narrow this down a little bit. You want to know sort of real time where an event might have had impact?
No, because I can see that myself on a radar.
Okay.
So that's, and I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just kind of asking, is there some sort of capability through any kind of series of prompts that maybe I can use, weather reports? I really don't know the capabilities, but just ultimately to strengthen our business's response to the local community and being able to be there to provide services and support. So it's part emergency management, it's part policy advocacy, consultation, even if it's just a community that maybe needs to gather around for some sort of city hall meeting and learn more about what options they have when filing an insurance claim with their insurance company. The industry tends to focus a lot on property owners like homeowners, but we're really interested in also reaching out and advocating for businesses and nonprofit organizations.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that. Let's talk about what can be done, what can't be done, and what makes sense within the confines of what you're saying. So, Google got very intimate during the LA fires to say, where is the fire? What roads are available? How do we vector in emergency responders? How do we communicate, get out of the way, it could be coming? How do we predict where it might go? What that should be? On a fire, it's incredibly easy to find out where it went because you fly a satellite over and what was green and brown is now black. So that's incredibly easy. What's more complex is to say a hurricane blew over the top. The trees are still there. The building is still kind of there, but you've got to look at the individual piece to see if it's done. So on those types of events, you can't just focus it on South Florida because the data set is too big and you have to be looking at little things like damages on roofs. What we do with some folks is focus on my stuff, focus on critical infrastructure, power, water, communications, hospitals, those sorts of things. And we are building models and developing those pieces to say, this is a flooded area. That building has a roof pulled off. We think these trees have fallen over power lines. They're likely down, damaged locally. So a little bit. The next piece is how do you remove friction within the confines of the system? So we were actually having a conversation with Hillsborough County about this. In the event bad happens, everybody comes back to government for where do I go from here? And there's that synergy between government and the insurance companies and everyone else that provides benefit. Sort of that, how do we set up comms that vector back out to the community? So they're going to come in and they're going to hit government, pick up the phone. I'm going to call government. Government needs those components that vector back out. An example we did that's practical is after the Lahaina fires in Hawaii, we worked over the weekend with them to say, okay, we're going to stand up an FAQ. Here's where you go. Here's what's available. Here's who you call. Call this number. It'll start vectoring you. As we got more information and better data, we tuned and improved and provided information that was more than what we started with. Very fast. Don't recommend doing it that way. Recommend having it built in front, but that piece makes sense. The next chunk sort of rolls back to that customer AI component of, can I have a natural language conversation with an agentic AI tool to help me get insights? And the biggest challenge with it is deciding you're going to do it, getting that mix of government and industry to say we're going to do it in advance. We're going to build those components in place and we're going to answer questions meaningfully and deeply. Can I introduce you to a friend of mine I use a lot? How many here talk to their cell phones with their wives? You know, they go off a speaker and talk to their cell phones. Nobody? I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine. I have a lot of conversations with my friend. So this is the art of the possible. Hi, I'm having a conversation with the Tallahassee Chamber and about 50 people on the capabilities of AI in that intersection between government and industry. Can you talk about how AI might work?
AI could help governments analyze large data sets to identify trends and patterns, leading to more informed policy decisions. It could also automate routine tasks, freeing up government employees for more complex work.
Hey,
for industry,
can we refine this? Let's go slightly different. It's an emergency response instance, and I want to be able to communicate broadly through a government primary number on solutions that are available for homelessness, immediate funding. How do I contact my insurance agent?
for emergency response regarding homelessness and immediate funding, you can dial 211 to connect with local social services. There are also specific hotlines for youth and veterans. For disaster assistance and funding, you can text. So
the purpose of that is not to say whether the answers here are right or wrong. And by the way, Angela is aware of this. I was coming down for an event that she was holding on education, and I had a 2-hour conversation refining and defining my point of view on agentic AI and the pedagogy of learning and how AI can help students in class. Take that same set of capabilities and plug it here intentionally and think about how that changes the game for the students that you support, the citizenry we support, our customers, and then let's be intentional and wrapper it and make it community level, not just individual touch point.
Sean,
Angela?
that's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, Matthew, maybe we could take this to the next level. He has a question for you. Matthew, I invite you to unmute if you like. He'd love for you to demonstrate how to tackle a project. So maybe Matthew, if you have an idea of a project that you're thinking about, Sean could demonstrate that.
Can you guys see my screen? Am I presenting goodness?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's do something interesting right here. Let's play Stump. I called it Stump the Chump when I was in college, and I'm now that guy. Let's do it.
Okay, Matthew, you want to go ahead?
Well, great. Yes, and actually, like I'm married to Leah, so this is we've been talking about this together here in our house now as we're watching together. So we're public adjusters here. So can you kind of show us? I appreciate you talking to the machine that you just talked to. I just started talking to some of my devices lately, and it's a really interesting way to integrate with them. But I want to know, so if somebody was going to Gemini and they wanted to wait, it's recording me now.
No, I'm typing.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm going to ask that we're going to do this real time. See what we come up with.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, man,
This is deep research. I'm going to ask it to think deeply about a problem.
Oh goodness. Okay.
And be bold. There's nothing wrong, and I'll help you tune it. No embarrassment here. We'll be awesome. Trust me.
Okay. So how would so what Leah was asking about, seeing like a radar map. So using publicly available information, how would I look at a radar map and overlay that over GIS maps for a local community in an effort to create lead generation for my public adjusting company?
So public adjusting. So an event has happened and you're thinking, where should I be going to do inspections and help adjust? Is that the concept?
Yes.
Okay. Did I get this right? Are you still with me?
Yeah, I'm still here. In a local community, sure, where folks public trusting service. Sure.
Okay, so let's not just ask it a question. Let's ask it to go look out across the scope of the internet. What's publicly available? What are the trends in this space? What are the trends? Trends, risks, and issues. So very similar to a conversation I've had with one of my new sales reps. He came on board. He's taking over basically the territory you're in. He's North Florida, and he's going, where should I focus my efforts? Well, first is, what are the problems that you think are worth addressing? Who's in the market? How do we sort of do that first cut? And this is almost exactly the same question he reached out. What deep research does is takes your question and then sort of analyzes it for a couple of minutes and goes, okay, what else should we do? How would I want to answer this as a researcher? What might be my sources? Let's present a hypothesis on how we're going to do the research. So you notice it's sitting here thinking. You ever seen AI think this long? It's actually doing an analysis on how it's going to do an analysis. And when it's finished, it actually spits out an annotated research paper on the data. So, what are the relevant sources that are available that might provide this information? What research platforms and methods are available? I live in Gwinnett County. It knows I live in Gwinnett County. It just pinged I'm in Gwinnett County. What would be a systematic approach to information, commercially available software? So it's a broad set. I can actually tweak this or edit the plan and really focus in on how we were talking about narrow to a target. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to look shocking. It's going to look at, I'm betting, over 100 sources, publicly available data sets, and it's going to start telling us how it's going to think about doing the problem. Not just looking at local, it's going to look at FEMA, NOAA. It's going to start making recommendations on what it can do. Here are the sources it's going to start taking a look at: GIS information, flooding information, property ownership, tax collectors. What would I guess? There's probably 50-ish odd there already. It's identifying the key sources it wants to do. So you see, and by the way, this is built-in capabilities. If you want to go get Gemini and start kicking it around, you guys have access to this right now. This is not futures. You use it today. It's analyzing 39 websites so far. The broader the conversation, the more counties I put in, the more information it's going to pull from. Did I answer your question, Matthew, a little bit on how we might go about doing this?
Yeah, so definitely. Thank you.
I don't have the answer, but I know how to go ask a set of questions and start to define what tools are available. What are the capabilities of the tool? What can I get that's of high value? I use it to identify what is the likely biggest problem I can solve that's worth solving using the tools I play with. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it did. Looking at this the deep research is I've never seen any prompt pull back this much information before.
Yeah. We were talking about Jordan, my new sales rep. He came on here first of the month. So the first thing he did, or first of last month, first thing he did was this cut broadly in the state of Florida and Orlando North. Who are my largest communities? What types of problems do they have? What are the biggest trends? Where's the focus politically and financially? Let's look across cities, state, counties, schools, municipal power companies, hospitals, community health districts, all of it. What are the problems? And then from there, he says, what can Google address with our tools to be able to help them? Narrowed it down. Where should I focus? What problems should we solve where Google already has something pre-built or a determined point of view on. So you catch that nested funnel concept. And it came down to, here are the top 5 things that are needed that Google can provide in your patch. And here are the organizations that more or less align to that. Now, Google goes out and has live conversations.
Focus on 5 key areas
She's
where
listening.
Google has pre-built solutions.
I saw her come up. I had it still turned on. Google's approach is to have live conversations. We don't want to create an email blasting bot to go make these conversations. There comes a point where humans need to be authentic and human and have a conversation. So that's where this comes in. This is that live 2-way interaction component. Do you have this problem? Here's our hypothesis. Is this worth solving? Is it in the top 5 things we've got? I think I can solve it within about a month. Is this of interest? Do we write a business case? So we've just super powered the human. I've done a bit of that instant expert component just based on what's on the available internet. And I think I've talked a little bit about this piece. Other questions y'all might have?
Sean, we have a question. By the way, what you just showed was amazing. And it's
Mhm.
still thinking through. This is
Yep.
very different than even ChatGPT in terms of the depth of what you've just showed us. So Nancy, if you want to unmute, she has kind of a something she wants to address as hypothetical. So Nancy, do you want to ask your question?
Nancy, it's good to meet you. Don't be intimidated. I'm really not that smart. I just have had a couple of minutes to play with this first.
And if Nancy, you can't join, I can read your question. Oh, she
Well,
says she
yeah.
doesn't have a speaker. She goes, I'm not intimidated, but I don't have a speaker. Okay, so
Good. I wouldn't be
read it.
intimidated by me either.
Okay, so here's her question, Sean. She says, I am job hunting, seeking a position in economic development at the state, county, or town level that focuses on recruiting new businesses to the area, retention of existing businesses, and supporting existing businesses expand. How can I use AI to help me identify job openings and, for a more direct approach, contact names to send my resume to, offering my services? So she job hunting, seeking a position in economic development, focused on recruiting new businesses to the area, retention, and supporting existing businesses, their expansion. How can I use AI to help me identify job openings and, for a more direct approach, contact names to send my resume to?
So you kind of catch I'm doing a little bit of prompt engineering here. It rolls back to that I have a broad concept. I might run deep research at it, or I might just run, Pro takes a little longer. I might just run Flash. We're going to run Pro here. Industries worth bringing to the area. How do I get agency and individual names? Am I getting this right?
Yes. She said, yes, thank you.
Really, how do I stand out? Not just that I've found it and I've identified the person and I've submitted a resume, but how do I meet the person who really should be thinking differently about the problem? So my niche in the universe is not just taking the problem as stated, but how do we redefine the problem? It's not just how do I bring businesses in, it is what business should we bringing in? What is the demand for new businesses in the market? What's coming up from an available workforce perspective? What skills do they have? Do those align? And where can we go get those businesses? And in that conversation, how do I stand out? So I'm going to think differently about the question, a little bit of prompt engineering, but this is how I might approach the problem, is ask the tool that chunk, then start doing the deep research on what are the pieces available at the state of Florida, what are the top 20 counties within a 1 hour drive time of where I'm at or where I want to live that do this. Who are the companies and players in the space now? What are the community action components that play in that space? There's a class available, and I actually had my sophomore in high school take it. It's called Google Prompt Engineering. Prompt, P-R-O-M-P-T. Did I spell that right, Angela? Engineers don't know how to spell. And Google Prompt Engineering helped her understand how to use large language models to do more interesting things. It also taught her about a broader set of tools. So we've talked about a little bit about this piece.
Prompt engineering is the process of crafting instructions.
Stop
for AI
listening to
models
me.
get better results.
I need to turn her off right now. I apologize. So prompt engineering taught her how to use the tools like we just did. It also taught her how to use a differentiated set of tools. So I'm going to show you this. It's called Google AI Studio. It's not that I can ask it a question. Sometimes I want to tune how creative the response is. So for example, how do I fix an engine in a 1982 Chevy with a V6 in it? It is very specific. I do this, I do that, I do the other. Here's how I identified problems in the carburetor. But sometimes I wanted to think really creatively, out of the box. The problem you just had. How do I think out of the box of this problem? What else should I be thinking about? How do I play with that? There's a piece up here called temperature. So we've all had AI hallucinate. Can I get a yeah? I've had it hallucinate. Raise your hands. I see all of you. If I slide it to the left and I get it to 0, allow in the creativity of the response, or if I move it to 2, I get more creative. So here it is very deterministic. I needed to answer a math question. It is either right or wrong. There's no maybe. I want to brainstorm on how I might approach my thesis paper. I'm going to do a thesis. I'm running through a master's program. Here are the things that interest me. What might I do? I want to start thinking broadly about what's available on the table. And then as I ask questions and get tighter to it, I'm going to shift it to narrow down that set of data. I'm not sure that answered the question, but I feel better saying it.
No, Sean, I think that's great. So we got about 10 minutes. I have a question for you. And listen, if any of you have questions that, let's say, we don't get answered today, I wish we had hours and hours, Sean, to spend. But I think if you have any follow-up resources for everyone, like you mentioned, the class, the course, that's helpful. So here's an example. So Matt, and he doesn't have a speaker, so I'll read it for him. But he said, can you provide an example of how to use agentic AI to complete a task? So here's an example. He said he works at a school. How can I use an agent to pull an attendance roster, determine the students who are absent, and then send them an email notification?
Okay. Let's talk about agent space, agentic AI. Is that fair? Does that work for this?
Perfect.
Okay, I built one. So let's create a new agent here. Do we have a couple of minutes, my friends?
Yeah, you got 10 minutes.
Okay. They just hit reset on me on my agent. Why did Google do this? When we update, I meant, you saw me when I logged in. I'll show it to you. So go Spark. It's a dog food. So we eat our own dog food. I'm the development side of it. So I created a bunch of stuff, and I was using my agentic AI tool, and they just blew it out. So let me see if I can diagnose what's happening. Personalize here. Let's see if it's going to play here. Save settings. Come on, turn it back on, guys. My apologies. Google undermined me.
It's just testing you.
Well, it's doing a pretty good job of it. So I'll define one that I did recently, and I'll sort of lay it out. And Angela will attest to this because I've said it before. I am the weirdest Googler that's a customer engineer. I'm an engineer who got hired at 56, more than twice the age of the average Googler, and I don't code. So that is my context. The new programming language is English. In Google Agent Space, let me see if I can get to a public version.
The Agent Space search feature will be available for public preview in the third quarter of 2020.
Stop talking. Let's go to console. No, I'm not going to be able to do it, and I can't show you my public my version because I've got some proprietary stuff built in it they don't want me showing. Will you allow me to say it? We'll schedule another session. I'll do a command performance for anyone that wants to see Agent Space. Will you allow me to do that, Angela?
Absolutely. Can you describe Agent Space? So maybe describe for Matt, how could he use Agent Space to do without demonstrating what he needs?
So
And also to do it protecting the data as well, because I know you said Gemini, it will protect that sensitive data. Yep. Correct?
I've got attendance data that's coming in. I want it in a secure box that just the school has access to, or just you have access to. This is your instance. And I bring in Agent Space. This is your piece only. And I tell it, you're going to be an agent. Actually, you're an attendance agent. You're going to tell me who's the most absent over the last quarter or the last semester. Not just who's absent. That's easy. Who's the most absent? And are they excused or unexcused? So we've got a set of records, and we're going to point the agent at it. And I'm going to tell it in natural language, I want you to be able to pull all of the records on a rolling 3-month period, count all of the unexcused absences and excused absences, and I want you to identify the top percent, raw number, or extreme outliers on who's absent, and do we have an indication why, and can I get their contact information if it's available in the student record? And it will take what I've done, convert it to program text, and then allow me to test it and build it. Took me about 15 minutes to build one for the Department of Education. Could we review a transcript? Paper, photocopied, picture, PDF, or text version out of the computer, and tell me what a teacher, prospective teacher, might be qualified for against the 70 certs that they offer. About 15 minutes of work, maybe. Most of it was getting the data in a spot that I could load it over to. Did that answer the question?
So Matt, if you could type in, if that helped a little bit. I'm curious to know how many of you would come back for Sean to do a live demonstration on the other. If you could, maybe in the question box, or raise your hand and let us know so that we can plan that. So Sean, quite a few are, because I think this is the seeing it and knowing how to do it, talking about it's one thing, but when you demonstrate, that's where we learn. Matt said, he said, so I would take the code it produces and paste that code into the coding environment within the current student management system, correct? No.
It's actually easier than that. It creates the agent, the code in the box. All you do is point the agent to the source of data. If the source of data is in a Google Drive, that's all that it needs. You can load the data over, put it in a spot where it can gain access to it. The next one would be to build the connector over to it, piece one. Piece two is if you wanted to build the code, make the website, and show you how to link to the data, we can also do that. And you can build an app to do it on your own. You don't even use Agent Space as a low code, no code, easy button. It'll actually write the code for you if you have a little bit of skill, and even walk you through setting up the website. It's called vibe coding, and I can show that too. So yeah, I'd be happy to do a command performance or do a video, get a couple of folks with, hey, give me a practical use case and let's do one. My apologies,
Awesome.
my tools failed me today. They changed it probably in the last 48 hours and I didn't see it happen.
Sean, this is just part of life, but hey, it's also, I think, good to demonstrate what's reality. So quite a few have raised their hands saying they would come back to hear you on the next step, which I think is helpful. In the interim, does anyone else have any quick questions you'd like to type in or unmute? Feel free to go ahead and do that now.
Here it is. It populated.
Oh, okay.
This is the engine that I built. So you would just, in this case, drop and drag and drop it in here. I don't have the data on this computer, but a transcript, and it will spit out the goodness. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I'm not getting all of the data here I would normally have. My apologies, my friends. I think part of it too is this computer is not on the core corporate network. They don't allow me to do this inside the goodness of Google. They force me outside. And I think that's what I might be facing too.
Sean, no problem. We have about, again, like 3 minutes. So Leah has a question. She has a creative business question. Leah, do you want to unmute?
I unmuted. Thank you.
Yes.
Sean, I'm wondering, as a startup business, I've got a lot of ideas, and a large part of the work that we do is really to help educate the consumer. And
Okay.
we're trying to find the best way of doing that, and it seems to be through social media. So over the years, because we've been in this industry for 8 years, but we're just a startup, public adjusting from now. We used to work for insurance companies. Now we work for the consumer. But I had all these notes of things that I have learned from being on this side that I'd like to share. And it's probably about a 20-page document with just odds and ends and helpful tips and things to look out for. Is there some way for me to put this into an AI platform and it can organize it for me and maybe not create the copy, because I've written a lot of the copy, but maybe actually make it more cohesive and make a schedule and be a second brain for me?
Oh, absolutely. Any one of the tools that I've shown today, Agent Space, Notebook LM, just Gemini out of the box, take the document, load it, and then I would give it from the point of view of your prospective audience. From the point of view of, for myself, I'm looking for a second brain. I'm thinking about publishing this, and I'd like it to be from the point of view of a college PhD from MIT who's writing an authoritative article on it, and begin to craft it in that tone. From the point, if your children are cheating, with the language of an 8th grader, write me a draft. Not that I know my daughter has done that, but my daughter has done that. Like, you got to stop. You need to learn some of this stuff, honey. So the answer is yes. I want to wrap up with a couple of do's and don'ts. So, you know, if you don't pay for a service that's provided, you are actually the product. If you're using the free stuff and you're pushing data up to that, most of the public sites say, I'm training you on that. I'm training on that data. Google makes a determined effort never to do that, but you really want to be explicit about it. You also, if you have, you know, sensitive data, pay for it, because your data and the model come into your environment. The model does not get trained and the data can't leak out. So, hey, Strong recommendation is don't use DeepSeek because they're explicit. We are using your data, and they're not necessarily adhering to any US laws as it relates to that. Use all the tools. Google's third to the dance on cloud. We play with AWS. We play a little bit with Azure. OpenAI is coming to us to develop their new sets of models. We have access to them. Each one of them has a separate skill. I use Anthropic's Claude for coding sometimes because I'm not a great coder and it writes great code. All of these are going to shift. If you're a company, don't pick the best little bitty player to do a little bitty task of my AI. We were working with the county and they approved that approach broadly in the county. And the next thing you knew, everybody had gone off and done their own thing. So they have all of these little data piles that are unsecured out there with no policy wrapped around them. They have a data sprawl problem and an AI security problem because they did not pick a player. AWS, Azure, Google, little bit of Oracle. OpenAI is moving in very quickly as a standalone. Anthropic's moving as a standalone. Do some research. Who's the best in the space? Who's got the tool that I like working with, and use it. And you can't, it's like the first time you played with an iPhone. You can't break it. So think outside of the box and ask weird questions. Try to stump it. See how far you can get with it. Do you like its experience? And then pick the 2 or 3 you love. My friends,
Awesome,
thank you for your time. I hope I added a little bit of value. I hate death by PowerPoint. I hope this was more along what you liked. Angela?
Thank you, Sean. Let's give him a round of applause, whether virtually. Wonderful. So Sean, we will be in touch with you then to schedule the next. And I've looked at all the names that have said, yeah, we're interested. So be looking for that. Sean, you're amazing. We're excited to have this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the example of what we want to provide, this partnership with the Chamber and Tallahassee State College. This is our opportunity. We're the generation we need to learn. On that note, the next scheduled presentation actually is on AI ethics. I will be sharing what I've learned coming back from Geneva. Some of you don't know, but literally by the grace of God, I was invited with my president to speak at the UN. I know I still can't get over it, but I was able to hear from the top leaders in the world. Godfather of AI, he spoke. Jeffrey Hinton, if you are familiar with his work, several other key names. I took expanding notes, and I am excited to share with you what I have learned. So that's our next talk on AI ethics. After that, on the 14th, so that's September 9th at 11, it will be another webinar on that Tuesday. On October 14th, we're going to have a presentation on AI in healthcare. And so you're not going to want to miss that. But I'm going to close with this. Sean, you're amazing. Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to TSC and our president here. We are wanting to do an AI ethics forum in person. We're going to feed people. It will be first come, first serve. Sean, you're going to be invited to come to that. So if that's an interest of yours, you want to reach out in advance, say, yes, please help me reserve a spot. We're looking at dates and times. It will be downtown at the Center for Innovation, but that will be a 3-hour forum you're going to not want to miss. On that note, have a beautiful day, everyone. Life is a gift. You're amazing. Stay that way. We will be in touch. Thank you again.
Angela, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, friend.
I'm melting. I'm melting.